In the context of the GCRMN and the Pacific Node, I'm aiming to do a workshop to put together in the same room most of the data collector in the Pacific.
ICRI, a global partnership of organisations, countries striving for the protection of coral reefs and their associated ecosystems, and underneath ICRI is the Global Coral Reef Monitoring Network, and where ICRI sits really is that sort of science to policy barrier, so taking the work of GCRMN, the status, the trends, what's happening on the coral reefs, and using that to support countries in terms of their international policy and also national policy as well.
The report is dedicated to policymakers, managers, but also to scientists because it's very descriptive, and usually the results that we are producing in the frame of GCRMN report are not produced by scientific article because scientific articles are mainly dedicated to the explicative data and analysis, but for the GCRMN is mostly descriptive. We decided to organize this workshop here in New Zealand, in Auckland, because this place is very well connected to most of the Pacific airports.
On behalf of the home peoples here, Ngāti Whātua Ōrākei, our sub-tribes, Te Tau, Te Urimutu, Ngā Oho, I'd like to welcome you to Tāmaki Makaurau.
It is important for the different people from this network to come in the same room.
Meeting people face to face is different from Zoom or from any other communications.
The main point of discussion during this workshop were to discuss the structure of the report. Are the people comfortable with the table of content you are using for the report? Are they interested to include additional particular case studies to highlight one particular aspect of coral reef of their territory? And we had also very interesting discussion about the template for the territories, for the countries, and about the data and the methodology that we are using, how we can improve our methods to create a robust estimates of coral reef trends at the scale of the Pacific and at the scale of the different countries and territories.
We're here today to find out more about other collaborators within the GCRMN, how we can work together to produce this report for the Pacific region. I'm really hoping to find out more about what everyone else is doing, make some links between other people's programs and ours.
We've been collecting coral reef data in the Cook Islands for a number of years. It will be really interesting seeing how that data compares to other places around the Pacific.
This workshop has been insightful actually. I'm glad that we're now having this connection again with GCRMN. There's been a lot I've learned. There's been work done in some of the Line and the Phoenix Islands that we don't have access to, sharing it with us. I'm glad and I'm thankful for this workshop.
It's been really encouraging to see open source softwares being discussed by some of the partners here, and it's really exciting to apply new technologies in our monitoring programs. It's good to see that the monitoring tools that we are using are similar to tools that are already being used, and that there's the potential to apply new methods to data we are already collecting. For example, photo quadrats that we can then apply a new software to get increased resolution, so more detail about the types of data that we're getting, so more information about the types and species of corals.
During the discussions, I received very interesting comments, for example, for improving the figures. So we have to put in place different steps to improve some particular aspects of the report. The most important way to move forward is to increase the number of datasets, because most of the participants tell us that some of the territories and countries over the Pacific datasets are missing within our analysis. This is very important, particularly for the Pacific region, because human population living in the Pacific are very dependent on coral reef.
Coral reefs are critical ecosystems for the Pacific Island region. All our Pacific communities rely on coral reefs and the coastal ecosystems.
All of the ecosystems from reef to reef are all connected.
We are one of the really low-lying islands in the Pacific, and we are dependent on coral reefs for livelihoods. We want to monitor that in order to know the status of the coral reefs that are sustaining our livelihoods. We want to share that because events like bleaching would really do us harm.
The main objective is actually to make people involved into the collection of monitoring data more together and more as a community rather than separate and isolated, with the idea to say, well, as a community we'll be able to provide information that might influence actually decision maker for the future of coral reef.
We can do a lot of talking, but it's really important to have numbers behind the words that we're saying. So if we have this report that can show politicians or show decision makers the status of the reefs relative to the rest of the Pacific region, that can really encourage decision makers to make decisions that will help protect coral reef.